Hello, athletes and fans of bodybuilding. I'm Lenda Murray, 8 times Miss Olympia. And joining me, my co-host and partner in crime. We're
That's
good.
me.
We're never crying. Wendy Fortino, IFBB figure pro, and just fresh off of her win at the Triple O. And she's on her way to the Olympia in Las Vegas.
Thank you.
And
Sometimes crime.
yes. Yeah. You said for the 8th time.
I said sometimes crime. Sometimes crime.
Well, this is really a special treat. We're all really excited. We have special guests today. 4 times Ms. Olympia, Kim Chizevsky. And you won that Miss International more than 2 times. I know you're the
twice, yeah.
Right. I know you are the first to win both the Ms. Olympia and the Miss International in the same year.
Yes.
You're the first to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, trailblazer. And her husband and the guru, coach, Chad Nicholls. And let me say the parents of Brothers Mayhem. Right?
They definitely are mayhem for sure. But
yeah,
they're the best thing. I mean, the Olympia was awesome, but giving birth to 2 boys was definitely the highlight of our marriage, our career, everything. It's just
a
pleasure. I mean, of course, we're going through the terrible teens with Morgan. He's 17 now, but he's a really super sweet kid. He's got a straight A average. He excels in all his sports and everything, and he's just a super good kid. I'm so proud of Dominic, who just got on the sheriff's department here in Green County in Missouri. So we're really, really excited. He's in the corrections now because he's only 20, but and you have to be 21 to carry a gun. But as soon as he turns 21 in June, they're sending him to the academy, and he's going off to the sheriff's department. So we're really proud of him.
Yeah, well, you can see that on your social media, on your Instagram, because the way you identify, you say wife, mother, 4 times Ms. Olympia. That says it all.
And it's in that order too. I mean,
yeah,
the boys are our lives, but first and foremost, Chad and I, for those who don't know, we're an old couple. We've been together for 35 years now, and in May is going to be our 31st wedding anniversary.
Wow.
So he's truly my best friend, and so, above anything, we're best friends and we're here for each other no matter what. We've had we've had great times, and recently we've had some pretty trying times with health issues and stuff, but everything's getting back on track and looking up for the best. And so we're hoping that everything's going to be good there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I saw a recent post that you made in regards to your priorities and who you are and your health, and I see that your meditation, you understand the importance of mind, body, soul. So,
and it's so important. I didn't realize it so much when I was younger. I used to like to, meditate and yoga and all that stuff as a fad and everything. But now that I know how in tune I am with my body, and how important it is to have your mind in tune with your body, it makes you healthy from the inside out. If you're a mess on the inside and a mess mentally, it doesn't matter how much you diet or how hard you train, you're going to be a mess on the outside as well. So yeah. I've really, really gotten into not just doing that with myself and with the family, but we're also doing that with clients as well, because you know how stressful it is, getting ready for shows, and both of you do, how stressful it is getting ready for is hard enough. And then all the mental things you have to worry about in day-to-day life. I suffer from severe anxiety and panic disorder. And then along with that, I have rheumatoid arthritis and acute inflammatory disease. So that's messed up, and just everyday stresses will bring on flares from that, allergy flares from that. So I've had to really learn how to, just channel my negative energies outwards, get rid of that, just really start trying to focus on positive, no matter how it gets.
Oh yeah, it's actually, you made the post how important it is. You say that it's, to me, what's going on inside, that it's an inside job. It's actually more important than, you know, we all started out and we're so physical, like, you know, when you're in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s and everything is working right, you don't realize or don't understand the importance of what goes on inside.
Once you hit your 40s and now 50s, it's hard, and things don't go right. You know, you can't just do quick fixes on things to make everything right again. You have to really focus on inner health as well as your outer health. So it's very important.
Oh yeah.
When you're
I have
younger,
an idea. Oh, go ahead, Chad.
when you're younger, I mean, the body compensates so much, and so you feel invincible no matter what. And you know, everybody kind of has that, you know, kind of thinking that it's never going to happen to me type of thing. But as you're getting older, you realize just how critical everything is, and being balanced, you know, internal health and, you know, the way you look outside too. So, I mean, I think there's, you know, younger, if you would do that at such a young age, you would increase longevity of life by so much. But again, you know, we've all been there. You're younger and everything clicks away. You're invincible. You just kind of get away with a lot more than, you know, when you're younger than you can when you're older. Obviously, much bigger priority with the older you get.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
Wendy, you were going to say something?
I have an idea. I think that it would be really cool if we took a look at Kim from, how about if we take a look at Kim from 1996? Because actually, no, let's actually backtrack to 1993. How's that? Because
and I definitely want to paint a picture for our audience. I looked at these clips and where you placed it. So during this time, Chad and Kim, you placed here in your pro debut. On your pro debut, you won the Miss International, but when you competed in this Miss Olympia, you placed 5th.
Yes.
And I believe we had, like, there's Debbie Mugley up on stage, Denise Rotowski, Laura Crevel, and you beat Sandy, what's Sandy from Arizona? Yes, Sandy Riddell. And Sandy Riddell, the year prior to my competing in '89, she placed 2nd to Corey Everson, who was the 6 times Miss Olympia. So my question to you during this time, Chad, what was your game plan to beat me? Because you beat me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I look at you, you look great here.
Thank you.
What was the game plan? What did you guys?
So the thing that we did was we went into every show trying to learn. And to be honest, like, this was so early on in her career because she turned pro really fast. So it was kind of like a whirlwind. Like, we were trying to catch up to everything still at this point. And so we were basically trying to, at each show, she went in and she won the international. And so, but we saw things at the international that was weaknesses still that we knew was going to be bigger weaknesses in this lineup. And so, you know, so we went into this knowing that, you know, we were going to have to be able to evaluate and prioritize what it would take to get those extra few notches up against, you know, you, Lenda, who was at the top at that point and stuff, you know. And, you know, one of the main things, like, from the back, she was still a little bit weak. She hadn't completed her back yet. Some of those things. So we went into this show, we knew that, you know, there was a lot of questions that needed to be answered. And that's really the main thing that we did. I mean, you always want to win. You're never satisfied with where you're going. But at the end of the day, we knew when we, you know, got done with this show, we knew that the goods was there. We just had to refine a few things.
Okay. Yeah.
When you saw Lenda, were you like, I got this? Just give me a couple years. I got this.
Yeah, because it was so cool. Because I was thinking to myself, gosh, I wonder, like, their game plan. You know, because I know you listen, for people out there, Chad and Kim, for me, you guys revolutionized the sport for men and for women together.
Right.
The two of you, like when they came up with all these coaches and now coaches and trainers, like the sport changed, and you put science to that contest prep that last week, 2 weeks out. You know, you guys, you're responsible for that. Like, to me, before that, it was hit and miss. People, we didn't really know, you know, we talk about carb loading and depleting and water and sodium, but you mastered that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was you know, a whole trial and error thing. And but each time we learned my body better and better. And we knew that in order for me to eventually beat you, which was unbelievable, and I still can't believe that happened. But, I mean, for me to do that, we knew that we were going to have to, you know, take that to a science. When to drink water, when to load, how much carbs to use, you know, if it's spilled, how long did it take to clean that up? How long did it take for it to cycle through my body so that, you know, I would, you know, recover from that. So it really, you know, like all the way until 96 for us to perfect that.
Yeah.
And part of it too, like, you know, figuring out like, so where does she need to be competitive with you? And then where can she go above you? And so, you know, like, because we couldn't be you. Right. So, you know, your structure and everything was flawless. Like, we knew that we had good things, but we knew that there was other things that we had to focus on. Balance the body from top to bottom so that she was competitively equal as far as like everything there. And then our main goal at a certain point was that we had to push the conditioning to a certain point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause definitely.
That was my thing. So, and the thing of it is that irritated me, I can say, when I would ask for constructive criticism on what I needed to do, they would say, you need to be fuller like Lenda. And I'm like, but I'm not Lenda. There's only one Lenda. Just like Lenda can't be me, I can't be
you. Right.
So what we decided to do, we just said, excuse me, screw it. And we're just going to do what looks best on me. And hopefully one of the days they'll like that. And did eventually. So that's
yes. Now, I'm going to say, I've been asked a question, you know, people like what point when you're on stage where you were uncomfortable or where I was afraid or afraid to lose my title. And there were only 2 times. My first time on stage was, of course, me defending my title for the first time. And that was 91 against Bev Francis. But the time where I was truly like shaken was when you beat me that year in 96. And saying that, I have a very clear and vivid memory of being on stage and looking over at to look at you. You know, like when they called us out, we were in the first call out, then we go back, and I looked over and I watched you standing there on the line, and you were so, how can I say, you were just like a statue. You had it together. And I was like, this is it, you know? And I knew that's a memory that I have of all of my Olympias. People, you know, they would ask me about Iris. I said, no, you know, the time where I was uncomfortable on stage and I knew that, you know, I lost. Like, I knew you had something. So
it's crazy.
That was it.
Yeah, it's crazy because we thought that process through the whole time, like to beat you because you were so good. I told her, I said, you have to win every second you're on stage. So on stage, don't go to the back and get a drink. Stand like just stand there. You know, just breathe shallow, stand there like class, just art, like just make sure you don't touch. Make sure that they can see you at all times. You know? mindset during all of those.
Yeah, because I don't think I've ever been on stage looking around at other athletes. But that time, I can tell you exactly that Olympia, being on the stage, knowing, being conscious of other athletes. I didn't do it in the past.
I see you
but
looking.
That time I did. Oh yeah, I did. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And we know as the champion, all those things make a big difference, because
They
get inside somebody's head, it works.
And that wasn't my intention. My intention was to just focus on me, because for so long everyone wanted me to focus on you, and that wasn't working. So it was like I needed to focus on me. And to be honest, at that show, that's all I did. I knew my competitors were on stage. I knew you were there. I knew what was on the line and stuff. But I was so in tune with myself on that day. That's all I did was focus on every single thing Chad and I had gone over, all the weeks, months of prep, with posing, with, my breathing, with everything. I remember, if anyone offers you a piece of gum or candy or anything backstage, do it, Wait, what eat after the show? It's like, I felt like a little goody and stuff, but it's like, I just wanted it so bad that that's all I did was just focus. And from that point on, the first few shows, I was like a deer in headlights, and I was focusing on you. I was focusing on everybody else. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't look like this. I don't fit this mold. I don't fit that mold, and it's just like, you know what? One of these days, they're just going to like my look. They're just going to have to. And it happened. So, and one thing that I want to make clear to everybody listening too, I remember the magazines at that time tried to make this huge to-do about me and you being these vicious rivals and stuff. And I had nothing but love and respect for you, totally. And
I know.
And what was it? When did we go up to the Olympia just to watch? And we met her.
Oh yeah,
you had just won the North American.
It was the year that the men's Olympia, the last year
was in Chicago.
I think in Chicago.
Yeah, in Chicago.
Yes.
I weighed $125. I was a little bitty thing. I hadn't even. I had done one show, or had I done?
So.
I'd done
one show,
and I was a little bitty thing, and we got pictures with you, and I was like, oh my God, this is so unbelievable. And then we saw you. Like a month later, then you went and you won your Olympia. And we're like, oh my God, we got pictures with her just a month ago. So, and several years later that we'd be on stage together and stuff. So that was really, really, that was cool for us.
Yeah, well, you've always shown, I've always felt comfortable with you, like as far as who you are as a person. And I'm going to say, when you beat me, and then I'm retired for some time. That's why I felt comfortable going to you, Kim, and saying, I feel comfortable working with Chad. Like, because you guys have that formula. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, like, if we didn't have that kind of, if you weren't that person that just at peace, comfortable in your own skin, we just never had that type of baggage.
Exactly. Like I said, we both had mutual respect for each other. At that time, I was done. And so, I had no problem at all with Chad working with, women at that time. And so I was actually honored that you asked.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so cool that, I got to work together.
Yeah. Go to the person that beat me. Go to Chad, you guys know what you're doing.
Chad, I would love to know from you when Lenda came to you after Kim Chizevsky beat her. What was that like for you? I mean, run us through that process for you.
So honestly, it was a no-brainer for me because Kim was done, competing, so there was no issue there, obviously. And we had been around Lenda a lot leading up, through all those beginning years and stuff. But at the same time, I had watched Lenda's physique so closely. It was literally like you're flipping a switch. Like, it was so easy. It was probably one of the easiest, athletes that I ever, prepped, because I was so used to watching her and, studying her physique because, Kim competing against her, that, from like day one, everything clicked so easy. It was like flawless.
Yeah. And, with that point, I want to make this point is that as far as just some of the stuff out there that people have tried to say, and I defend you completely in that, like, if you're working with an athlete, like that athlete, you didn't do anything strange. You didn't tell me to do any.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like, athletes have to be responsible for themselves. And I do know that there are athletes out there that try to cut corners and do things behind their coach's back or whatever, because they don't want to diet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at Kim, she worked her butt off. She did the nutrition. She did the weight training. She put the posing together. And then there are athletes that are on our top level, top 10, top 5. And I see some of them, and Kim, they can take that lazy approach. In the off season, they're not that great, or either they just want to cut corners. So to me, I feel like the athlete we are responsible for ourselves. And there's no coach, if you're not in alignment, Kim, like the meditation and what you're talking about, like inside job and knowing who you are, doing all the things that you need to do, you're never going to be in a position where someone's going to give you some advice that's not right.
Yeah.
Kim, it was what you did for Ronnie and myself, because Ronnie and I talk about it. I just recently talked to Ronnie, and he said, Lenda, I would not have won that Olympia without Chad. And I agree completely.
The thing with a coach too is an athlete should never allow a coach to take them down a path that they're not comfortable going down.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. I don't care what they promise them and all of this shit that they tell them.
Mm-hmm.
The minute there's a question mark in your head, the minute that there's some type of question that you're not 100% sure with, put the brakes on. Like, I would tell everybody that, because there's no magic, formula, especially right now. Right now, the science is at the highest point. The majority of top coaches are all at about the same level. Now, everybody's got different formulas and different paths that they take, but there is no magic, someone else has that the other person doesn't. It really depends on how hard does the athlete want to train? How hard does he want to suffer or she want to suffer? That's it. That's at the end of the day. Because like I said, there's like the knowledge base out there. The top group has, like I tell everybody that. It has it. Now, putting certain things together may be a little bit different. That science at the last week or two may be a little different. But again, it comes down to how hard the athlete wants to train and work. And that's it. That's the factor. That was with Tim. That was with Ronnie. Like when people, well, how could you beat Ronnie? I go, well, here's the thing. We have Ronnie figured out. So to beat him, you now have to train harder. You have to diet harder. You basically have to outwork Ronnie, which is impossible. You can't outwork Ronnie. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that I found too is that if you pick a coach, one thing that bothers me today with the I want it now, I want to win now, I want it right now, our social media, everything is right here, right now. That generation, the one thing that really bothers me is that, like, Chad and I didn't get it right the first time. We didn't get it right the first few times. It took years. And then we finally got it. And now it's like once someone, if I don't win the show, they're off to the next coach. It's like they don't ever give the person a chance to establish the connection and the bond. You have to have a bond with your coach. You can't just hope that, we win this first time. And if we don't, I'm just going to find someone else.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a learning curve within there. Every once in a while you nail it. And you hit it 100% right on the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always going to be questions to be answered. You're going to learn stuff at every single show and continue to get better. And then, from one show to the other, you may do a certain thing at one show, and then the body may decide to go a completely different direction the next show. Again, these are all process. And, how many shows you do a year is going to definitely, take a toll on the body and how it's going to respond throughout the year. There's so many factors that, fall into that. But at the same time, I'm pretty realistic about stuff. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't ever, look at it as something personal. Like, athletes want to win. And so, then there's always a nutritionist that's going to tell you that they can get you to the winning circle. And so, it doesn't matter whether they can or not. That's what they're going to tell you. The biggest issue I have really is, and this is where I've changed and matured a lot over the years, is most trainers and nutritionists, whatever, gurus, whatever you want to call them, they are basically training the athlete to make themselves look good.
Yes.
Not the athlete. They're basically trying to make themselves benefit themselves, not the athlete. The difference is, we all kind of have certain egos where we want to, accomplish certain things. But the one thing, like, I would never train an athlete right now unless I thought 100% I could make that athlete the best they've been. Like, unless I could benefit that person to the next level, why would I do it? Why would I, put myself there? And most will do it just because they think they can benefit somehow themselves from it.
I agree. And that's obvious, like with your style, you're low key, you're not out there. Like, I didn't know you were training, working with Big Ramy until it was the Olympia. I was like, oh, that's cool. I knew you were working with Chad, but you're not out there like, oh, I
literally never made it about him.
I told Ramy that we should keep it quiet just for the simple fact that it would draw so much attention going into the show. And so this was the first show that we announced it at, was the Arnold. I said, listen, nobody needs to know. Just, we'll just kind of, keep you moving forward. And then I said, when the time is right, we can still generate a lot of momentum from that. But I said, we've got a lot of questions that need to be answered. We need to learn each other's style first. And so the less distractions that we can have during that process, the better. Like, that was my the whole time, because trying to keep him as stress-free as possible was the primary goal,
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Totally awesome. You're now well.
Yeah, just amazing. I mean, so how was it working with Ronnie Coleman?
Yeah.
Chad?
So here's the thing. Ronnie is 1 in a million. Like, he's the dream athlete, literally. And I mean, it doesn't matter what sport you coach or what you do. He will literally put forth 100% all the time, all the time. And so I never had to worry about him missing a workout. I never had to worry about him cheating on his diet. Literally ever. Like, those are things that just were never, ever going to happen. And it was one of the things that I trained a lot of athletes that cheated on their diets a lot.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
And I remember talking to Ronnie after the first Olympia, and I'm like, what all did you do? This and that, da-da-da. And I mean, did you cheat on your diet at all? Was there something maybe you had every once in a while? And he looked at me like I was crazy. Like, yeah, it never even crossed my mind. And, you just know that he's a different human being. Like, he wanted to win and dominate. And it was literally just programmed in him to just push beyond anything. He was never going to be, broken as far as, training wise. It didn't matter if he was running on low calories, it was running on low sleep. It didn't matter. He was going to get the job done no matter what. Those type of athletes in any sport are rare, are extremely rare. And especially in today's age, like right now, you just don't see those athletes. They're just not there right now. And
what do you think the reason for that is? I mean, my theory is that I feel like with social media just blowing up, that to me is what has contributed to people wanting everything now, because we're just, there's so many shiny objects in front of us. Everything feels like we're falling behind in life all the time. And I just feel like, yeah, people are just feel like if they don't get it now, they're falling behind. That's my theory. But what do you think, Chad?
100%. I think that, you're looking at a day and age where you can accomplish things very quickly. And so, before you had to compete to kind of build this kind of fame and aura about yourself. And then, then with that came contracts and magazine stuff. And it was this very kind of methodical process that you had to go through very slowly. Now you can literally become famous without ever stepping on stage, and it can happen overnight. And trust me, that's why probably the majority of my inquiries right now are from non-competitors. Like the majority of my athletes right now, I probably have more lifestyle, transitional, weight loss, like healthy goal people right now, and then social media type people that are, on my team right now than competitive athletes. Now I've got competitive athletes, but the people that are inquiring all the time are basically social media. They're all social media, all wanting.
Wow.
And
so do you have some pros that have reached out to you and you kind of know their history and you say, no, thank you?
Oh, I probably turn more away right now than I take on. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, I'm not going to take somebody on just to make myself look good. I mean, there's too many factors. So, when you look at an athlete, like you have to look at where they were at, where they were at their, and especially if they're towards the end of their career. So can I benefit this athlete? Can I do good by this athlete? That's basically has to be, look, how are we going to click and can I make that person better? And I mean, if he's at the end of his career starting to degenerate, kind of go down, and I don't think that I can help him, I will never step into that role because I know that it's never going to be something that's going to end good. It's just never going to. And it's not because I'm afraid to go down that road. It's because it would be better for that athlete to not push extra hard and push the envelope to a point that's unrisky to try to achieve something that's maybe not achievable. That's the way it is.
And one thing that, we both agree on too is that we see a lot of athletes, like I said, jump around from coach to coach or with someone for so long and it's not working and they have possible health issues and stuff. And so our whole mantra, if you want to say, is we don't like cleaning up other people's messes or position, if that makes sense. Because ultimately he'd be the one to get blamed for it. For sure. So it's just it's not fair to Chad. It's not fair to the athlete. So a lot of times it's just like we'll just tell them, stick with who you're with, or I don't think the connection is there.
Isn't that interesting though? I feel like people, they come to you complaining about who they're coming from, thinking that's gonna maybe make you more attracted to them. Like, ooh, you're gonna be the one to fix it all. But really, what it is a red flag. It's like you're coming to me complaining about who you just came from. What are you gonna do when you're done with me? Like you're gonna badmouth me. It's kind of like it's a red flag to you. They don't realize that.
The athletes that are chasing something, but in reality, it's not the nutritionists that they're chasing. They're chasing somebody that can help them achieve something without hard work. They are chasing something that they don't have to sacrifice and put in the time and effort and stuff. That's what they're ultimately looking for.
Yeah.
And that's not there. It's just not. And I tell everybody, I was like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I can probably get you to this point, but it's going to be the hardest diet you've ever been on. I'm going to expect more from you probably than you've ever, done. Like there's never, at no point am I ever going to push things to make it easy ever. Like I'm never going to be that guy. So if that's what you're looking for, I can probably steer you in the right direction, but it just.
And then on the flip side of that, we'll even get people that are like, I'm the hardest worker you've ever seen. I'm the most dedicated dieter. I eat all the stuff you want me to. And then when it comes down to it, they can't. Yeah. And so then they'll maybe stick with him for a show or two and just be like, I just can't do this because and it's not that. It's just we're into hard work. we would, the main thing I told Chad when we started.
You don't have a magic wand, Chad?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they
No.
I think so.
But I told him, I said, if you want me to go down this crazy trail, I said, I will. But I said, at the end of the day, I still want to be me inside and out. I want to be able to give you children. I want to be able to, you know, look back without regrets and know that, you know, I didn't, you know, we didn't do anything to harm me. We didn't do anything, you know, that was going to shorten my life or anything. And the issues I have are hereditary. My father's side and my mother's side both had rheumatoid autoimmune disorders, and and my father's side had anxiety and panic disorder. So that's on me. So, but Chad has never done anything that would have ever put me in jeopardy. And I was able to have both the kids. I call them my happy accidents because they weren't planned, neither one. We were just hoping one day we would have them. So, you know, I was able to have them without having to go through in vitro and drugs and all that stuff. They just came around at the right time. We were
you had them. You had what is Dominic? Is he the first?
Dominic's the first, yeah.
First, and you had him how many years after your last Olympia?
Okay, so my last Olympia was 99, and then what we did is I to help with I needed goals to trim down. It was just weird to go flying blind, doing hours of cardio a day, hoping I would trim down. I still wanted to keep a physique and look good, so I did the Fitness International in 2001, and then I did the Southwest Pro, which is now the Texas Pro, in 2002, and I got pregnant right after, a few weeks after that show, and delivered in 2003. So I was 35 when I had Dominic, and then I was 38 when I had Morgan.
Oh wow! You still look so young. You need some big boys.
I know. Well, the genetics between the two of you guys, I was like, wow. Look at this.
Wow.
And then Tuesday I turned 56.
Wow! Congratulations!
Oh my gosh!
Oh my
Kim, you look
goodness!
so good. Seriously, you look so good.
And you said how many years you guys will be married?
31 May 8th.
Wow!
Woo! On May 8th, you're going to be married for 31 years.
Huh?
That's my mom's birthday, so I won't forget it.
Oh,
We're old.
Yeah, we're beyond old. Yeah.
It's crazy because it's weird because, you know, mentally you still kind of, you know, think like you're younger and stuff, and then you see the kids and you're like, Jesus, how did time go so fast? Like, how did this all?
I can't believe Dom's 21 in June, and Morgan will be 18 in July. It's
wow.
Our birthdays go April, May, and then Dom's June and Morgan's July. So
it's crazy because I remember it like yesterday when I found out that, you know, you're pregnant, and I'm like, wow. And then when I saw pictures of them for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, like what happened? Like time just flies by.
Amazing. Dominic still has in his room, in his closet, the Peter Pan book you sent him.
He's gonna kill you for this.
And his Lenda. Yes, we still have that. That was
really?
We still have
nice. That's so cool. That really is. Yeah. So when did they decide that they want, you know, because look at their bodies, like as far as training, because they started early.
Yeah. We started them in the gym, both of them at 8 years old.
So and here's the thing. We literally tried to steer them a different direction, but we didn't ever steer them away from it. We basically we didn't want them to feel like, okay, so we came from this, you know, era or industry. Now they have to be in this. We never wanted that. And so we kind of just waited for them to decide what they wanted to do. And Dom was the one that originally said, hey, listen, when are we going to start training? Because he had been around all the shows and around all the guys and everything. And he's like, when, you know, I want to start training. And he was real thin, and he was in track and field and all this kind of stuff.
Cross country. So he was running like 10 miles a day. And he, oh gosh.
I mean, he was so thin, but he was athletic looking, but just, you know, thin. Yeah. It was like, you know, listen, I want to start training, start working out and stuff. And then Morgan was the same way. And then, you know, the brother's doing it. So then he just transitioned over to it. And they both clicked so easy. Like just it was like nothing. The bodies just took off. Now we was really smart about it. We took the very first year when they were 8 years old, wouldn't allow them to really train heavy at all. We instilled all the basics, the form, like all of this stuff was instilled in their head from the first year. And then after that, as their bodies started to mature a little bit, we would allow them to then start to venture outside and move up in weight a little bit. And, you know, both of it, especially Morgan, like strength wise, he just skyrocketed.
He's otherworldly.
Yeah, I mean, his strength is different level.
Yeah, because I was looking at the bench press. Somebody bench press was 405 or something.
Morgan bench press
high
20 at 16.
Whoa,
Wow.
that's crazy. So you guys are a pretty tight knit family, right? You guys do a lot of stuff together as a family.
We're basically all we have. We're tight. Yeah. So yeah, we're the only family pretty much left. So we're like the Four Musketeers, and yeah, I mean Dom's still home with us. You know, he's 20, but he's still living here. You know, and
we're hoping that he eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I like having a house full, so it's nice, and it makes me feel safe knowing that they're both here still and everything. So
yeah,
I
understand
that closeness too. We bump heads a lot, you know, but it's because of the closeness. You know, if I didn't care, if Chad didn't care, you know, we'd be like, go do what you want.
The one thing I will say, like, you know, the one thing that weightlifting instilled in them is it instilled this structure from a very young age.
And discipline.
And so, you know, it's one of the things where, you know, I encourage a lot of parents and stuff to get their kids into these things, you know, and again, they don't have to push them into being, you know, bodybuilders or powerlifters or anything like that. But you know, like with Morgan, all of his training up, you know, for the first, you know, few years was all based around football. And I mean, because that's what his goal was. It was football. And Dom, he transitioned from football to track, and then you know, but the thing is, from day one, he wanted to be in law enforcement. That was what he wanted to do. His pathway was set from day one, and that's the direction he went. And same with Morgan. Morgan wanted to play football at a very high level. He will more than likely go on to play college ball. But from day one, not only did he want to do that, he was very structured in wanting to be able to cook, have his own restaurant, like do all of those things that he excelled in right off the bat. Like just, you know, he was very, very meticulous, I guess, about all of his, you know, planning things out. Like I look back when I was young and all I wanted to do was be an idiot and have fun. And he was like very meticulous about, hey, listen, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it to this and do this. And then, you know, I want to have my own restaurant at this point. And I mean, it was things that I think all of that weight training and that stability really like brings into them and instills in them at a very young age.
Morgan, he's actually in culinary in school, and so next year as a senior he gets to be on the competition traveling team for like international pastries and all kinds of stuff and compete with so he's like super into cooking. I mean, he wants to be a chef. I mean, after sports is all done and over with, he wants to be a chef and have his own restaurant. Now Dominic, when he was his pathway that he took in high school, he was in to forensics. So he always, when he was 3 years old, he said, "Mom, I'm going to be a cop one day." Chad, for those who don't know, I know Linda, you knew that Chad was a cop for several years when we were in Illinois and stuff before we moved to Missouri. And for me, it was too stressful and too dangerous. And I was just like, I want you around as long as I can have you. And I can't deal with the last straw was when he didn't come home and he ended up having to go to the hospital for, you know, they had a drug bust and the guy was HIV positive and splattered his blood all over the cops. So it's like, I have to deal with that.
Right.
We're like, and I mean, everything checked out fine and stuff. It's like to have to worry about that every single day. It's like, I worry about Dom every day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, going into law enforcement, I mean, I loved it. I feel like I was really good at it. I loved, you know, that part of it. And it's one of those things that you have to have a certain mindset for. But to be honest, like right now in this day and age, to become a law enforcement, you have to. Like you have to absolutely love it. And again,
Oh, yeah.
that's something that he's wanted to do from a very young age. And so
Yeah.
really excelling in that. Now, with that being said, I think that we will see, I don't know if both of them will end up on stage, but one of them for sure will. One
Yeah,
of
someone just asked that
I
question.
have a question about that.
Yeah, someone just asked.
One of them
that
will.
question,
I think that
Wendy.
I could see both of them ending up on stage. And again, it's one of those things that, I mean, all of you guys know this. All it takes is just that one little, bit, and then you're bitten by it. And, so I don't know if both of them will, but I think that Dom will more than likely be the first. And then I could very easily see Morgan at some point do it as well. And then from there, again, it depends on if they enjoy it to that level,
Right.
him drive. Like right now, I know Dom is driving that direction also, but again, we'll see. We'll see once he gets there.
The main thing that we're really proud of is both of them are more, I mean, they're very, very focused on their training and very dedicated to their training, but they're both also very dedicated to Dom is to his, job with the sheriff's department, and Morgan is for his career path on to college and afterwards. Mm-hmm. So they know that they have to have something to fall back on. That, it's not like it used to be for me and you, Lenda, how we were able to make a living at being Miss Olympia. It's like because I talk to people all the time. They're like, what's the main difference that you see as far as the camaraderie, the family aspect? And that was the main thing back then. There was only men's and women's bodybuilding, and then fitness came on the scene when you and I were competing. So it was such a tight, close-knit group.
Yes.
We were all brothers and sisters. We'd go to each other's photo shoots. We hang out with that one right there.
Yeah. I remember that one. Yes.
That was fun. And I mean, the guys would come to the girls' photo shoots. The girls would go to the guys' photo shoots. We'd go out there. We'd stay with Paul. We'd hang out with Flex. We'd go out to eat with Chris and Flex and Ronnie and everybody when we went out there, was out in California, and we just always have a good time. And we were all a family. And so now there's so many pros that that family has grown, which it's a great thing. And I love that there's so many categories because it gives you direction. And bodybuilding has grown to be so big as far as size and everything now compared to, I mean, you look at me there, or you look at, if I wasn't flexed, we'd be the size of like figure now or something.
Yes, you're right.
So I mean, there I weighed at I don't even think I weighed 150 pounds there at my first Miss Olympia.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And it's like, it's grown so much that I'm glad that, you can start with bikini and work your way up all the way to, bodybuilding. That's awesome that you can do that. I also like too, that like what I did, once you, go to the top, you can work your way back down. Like I said, I needed a goal to trim down, and competing in both, fitness, kept me not only, on track to trim down, but I was also able to keep my Weider contract for a long time after that. I was able to show versatility. Joe loved that. And then after I had Dominic, I competed in figure to lose my baby fat. So, it was, a means to an end and stuff. So it's a great lifestyle, actually, when you utilize it in the proper way. It really is. And it's something that you can do for. So, I mean, I see all these people, at the Masters now in their 70s still competing and stuff. And I think it's wonderful. I mean, I won't ever get on stage again, but I think it's wonderful that you can still stay in shape and still show people that, and even with, like I said, there was times my doctor is like, you can't train anymore. And I tried that one time, and that almost made me want to just throw in the towel. It was like that killed me literally to not train anymore. So I started training again. I finally got approved for actual medication, because it takes so long with rheumatoid and that type of autoimmune disease to get approved for medications, because they don't have a definitive test that says, yes, you have this. No, you don't have this. because there's just certain markers and certain, you know, they just trial and error everything. But since January, I've been on a new medication, and I have been back in the gym, and I feel wonderful. I'm not things. I'm able to stand upright.
You look great, Kim. I saw your pics.
Thanks.
Great.
It's felt good, and it's just made me feel happy again. I was pretty miserable for a while. So, but
I think, I mean, the nice thing about, you know, the sport right now is there's so many possibilities as far as like what you can do because of all the different divisions. And I know a lot of people think that's a bad thing, but realistically, not everybody is looking for the same thing. You know, back in the day, you only had a couple of choices, but even at that, like if you're a guy, that doesn't necessarily mean you want to walk around at 300 pounds. Now, most guys do want to be big, but for the most part, there's a lot of guys that just want to look good. And I mean, you know, that may be physique or maybe classic physique. And then from there, again, if they can go through the process, and again, we've seen this, guys will go to one, you know, division, and then they progress through training. They go to the next division, and the next thing you know, they're in the open division. Because no matter what, if you continue to train, you're going to continue to move up. The women is going to do the same thing. And so, again, you can kind of tailor it to the division you want. But again, not everybody wants the same things, you know, and especially with social media right now, there's so much opportunity in social media that, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to put all of your eggs in one basket right now. You can make a tremendous amount of money if you have that type of personality and platform on social media, and then, you know, kind of spin that over into our industry as well, as far as, you know, expos and you know, appearances and those types of things. Whether you got on stage or not, it still leads the same type of lifestyle. So social media, you know, we were talking about that earlier. I think it's a bad thing sometimes. It can be a very good thing as well.
Yes.
You know, it can be. I mean, you know, the only difference is, you know, there was something unique about, you know, having to wait for the magazine to come out and to be able to read the written word. Like, that is just something very unique that our, you know, group, like the kids that nowadays will just really never understand that, you know, having a show. And then now, like, if there's a show and there ain't a live stream to it, like, if people are pissed, like, you know, you couldn't see it right then. You know?
Right.
Those times we had to wait 5 months to see this.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I agree. So someone asked, is there anyone out there, Chad, that you see that you would be like, oh, I'd love to train that athlete? Or I'm sure you see a lot that you say,
here's the thing,
you can help.
I mean, there's a lot of athletes out there. You know, I mean, the main thing that I'm looking for as far as an athlete is, one, you know, how we click, you know, and usually, you know, like I can tell very, very fast if it's going to be a good match or whatever. But honestly, the person that I'm looking for is that, like, unique person that just wants to train hard, that wants to work as hard as they possibly can. Because at the end of the day, again, I can give you a blueprint that potentially could get you to, you know, from point A to point B, and point B might be the winner's circle. But if you can't execute it, it isn't going to do us any good. And so, realistically, the guy that I'm looking for is that guy that is just mentally tough, like that guy.
Yes.
You know, those, and I mean, that's where I think the difference is right now with the old era versus the new era. We are lacking mental toughness. We are lacking that ability to just dig deep and suffer, and that's the difference. And I can look at a lot of athletes nowadays and go, I can see this guy's potential. I can see where he could go, but I can also see where he's missing the mark. And a lot of times, like, it doesn't matter what you do because of those things, not being able to just push that little extra bit, you're just never going to get there. And I mean, it doesn't matter how many people tell you you're going to. You could be born with the best God-given genetics ever, but if you mentally can't think through that process and push yourself and push away from the table, push things in your mouth and sacrifice, because you know, both of you, that in this sport, it's about sacrifice. You can't go out to eat with your buddies and friends. You can't go do things with, you know, stuff. There has to be a point where you become very selfish if you want to achieve. And again, it's like that in the NFL. It's like that with the NBA. Like, if you want to be great at what your chosen profession is, you better be very, very self-driven, and you better be very selfish to an extent. You don't have to be like, you know, your life doesn't
selfish
have to be
to where you're a jerk.
Right.
But there better be a point where you are very, very self, you know, motivated, because
I think this is your secret.
Yeah,
This is your secret.
This is it. It really is. Bottom line, end of story. Right. I mean, well said.
Some of the best performances that I've had, and some of or showings that I had, I felt wonderful. And this is going to sound kind of sick, but I cried after every workout. I cried after every posing session. You know, I was not happy. If you're happy during a prep, you're not doing something right. And
Chad is like,
like being to the point that you have to. I'm not talking about being sick or ill. I'm talking about if you're not pushing yourself to the point that you're spent at every workout, at the end of every workout.
I mean, there's a point where you just have to walk that fine line.
Yeah.
That fine line of just being like, you know, broke and not. I mean, there's that one point where you really push yourself. But again, you've got to know, and this is where a nutritionist comes in. Yeah. You've also got to know when to pull back at the right time too, so that you mentally don't become broke. And so, like, there's those all things are factors. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The athlete has to be so mentally tough that they are just able to execute whatever is put in front of them. You know, and I mean, who does that? Ronnie did that. You did that. Kim did that. I mean, Mike Jordan did that. Mike Tyson. Right. Like, those types of guys will walk through a brick wall no matter what. They will just do what it takes to become a champion
and overcome any obstacle that's in front of them.
So absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see the athletes throughout the year competing in shows. And, you know, people will ask you a question about an athlete, or were you worried about this person? I'm like, oh, well, I wasn't really worried about that person, because that person, they were not consistent. They did things and they showed me that I could count on them. It was like rolling the dice. Like, when you look at Iris Cow consistently, she would get better and in shape. You know, same with Kim. Same with, you know, when I look at a Laura Cravel, and then I'll see an athlete and I'll see them in the off season, and then they show up at the Olympia, and I'm like, you know, you're missing like what you're saying, being tough.
And
I think, go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing too that Chad stresses with his athletes is that a good off season, all of your
structure across the board,
because that's where all the work is done. You know, that's where all your progress is made. That's where, if you just, you know, eat junk, eat crap, you know, lay around, you're not going to put on quality muscle. The first weight you're going to lose is all that new.
And you can't fix problems going into the show. So, you know, if you have a water issue, or if you have thick skin, or whatever it may be, those are things that can't be fixed going into the show. Those are all things that have to be addressed in the off season and started in that direction going into the show. But most people think, listen, we're going to dig deep, we're going to diet hard, and we're going to get to this point. And then they just keep having this revolving door of just the same outcome, because you don't ever fix the problem in the off season. Most people look at off season as, you know, and they should be looking at it as a health phase, as a rest phase, but also a problem solving phase. So that structure, types of setting up, making sure that body is completely balanced out going into the show, versus, again, trying to fix everything and go balls to the walls, you know, or whatever.
Right. You know. Oh, I get it.
So true. That is
it's so true. It's so true.
And another thing too that we stress is, you know, having your labs run at least twice a year. You know, at the end of the show, see how you are, but then during the off season too, because that's where you can fix issues as well. Yeah. If things, like I said before,
you can also pinpoint a lot of issues.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're having estrogen issues or whether you're having certain issues. You know, not you know, obviously staying on top of health issues and stuff. But, and here's the thing, I mean, most of the guys are connected with some type of a wellness, company right now where they can get all of that blood work at a discounted rate. And I understand people just don't want to go through that and stuff. But I'm telling you right now, Ronnie had his blood run every 2 months. We knew where Ronnie was at all times.
Wow.
And I mean, it's one of the reasons that, as far as like physical health, he's done so well. Now, granted, he trained himself like to a brutal point where his body couldn't train it, right? But health-wise, he is in very good health. And I just talked to Ronnie, and the crazy thing is he's traveling more right now than he ever did as a Mr. Olympia. He's, so
he's here with us right now.
Traveling so much. And I mean, the thing is, he, again, like hip issues, and he's working on those types of things. But the thing that he is, was able to do was he was able to stay on top of that just internal health through the whole time. A lot of guys, and this starts at a very young age, you would rather be under the impression like, I just don't want to know. I feel okay, so I don't want to know if there's a problem or not.
Mm-hmm.
And as a coach, what can you do about that, right? I mean, you can only do so much.
You can tell them, listen, you can ask for blood work. You can tell them to get blood work. I recommend it at least.
You can do it for them.
4 times, a year gives you a very good basis of how the body is changing throughout the year, depending on, how often you're competing. Now, the more times you're prepping for a show, the more times you step on stage, the more times you should have your blood run. That's a guarantee. And, there should be more. But again, most of our industry is under that impression that as long as there's nothing, like too big of signs, I just don't want to know about it. And then what ends up happening, boom, they're hit with something, and then like
that's even just with the average person. Well, the wellness clinic that I work at, I started doing phlebotomy over a year ago there. So I never thought that in my 50s I would learn how to draw blood and run IVs and stuff, but it's been really fun. But they have HRT there at the clinic. And I've just learned just from running labs month to month how much they vary on people depending on their lifestyle, what they eat. And these are just normal everyday people. And so it's like if it varies that much for just the everyday person, it's going to vary huge for an athlete. So it's so important to stay up on that.
And it's so easy to do right now. I mean, like getting your blood run, like I said, and I mean, most of the places will do it at such a discounted rate anymore. I mean, before it would cost $500-600 to get a complete panel run. Most places can get it done for $125, $150 now. And I mean, that just knowing what is going on in is just worth it.
It's like a security blanket. It just makes you
plus knowing where your levels are and going into the show, like any good nutritionist wants to know that. They want to know where, those levels are with everything so they can start making little adjustments and stuff, where those estrogen levels are, where your hormone levels are, how
the vitamin
glucose,
levels,
vitamins,
certain vitamin deficiencies can keep you from, getting in shape. Certain every kind of issue, thyroid issues, anything, and metabolic issues. It helps keep you on top of your game.
I love this. This is absolutely great. Guys, we can go on and on. I know that when I work with you guys, that it was, it was no magic wand. You basically started me out. And I tell people when they say they want to work with Chad, I said, listen, he's not somebody that, he's going to hold your hand. Some of these guys want to hold my hand.
Some people at a point, but, I'm going to take them. I'm going to kind of adapt to the person. If some people need a little more encouragement than others, I'm going to be there and kind of guide them down that thing. A lot of it is more managing like mental ups and downs and emotional roller coaster of a show. Like that's a lot of it. And you got to be able to understand that. And I did that whole part of it. But at the same time, again, like we're never going to sacrifice and make something easy. Like it's going to be the hardest, thing you've done. It's going to have to come down to that to achieve where you want to go. The body is, way smarter than we are, so it will be able to kind of do what it wants to do. So you've got to somehow guide it to what you want to do. And you've got to be able to overcome those things. You've got to mentally be able to work through barriers. You've got to mentally shut off, that mind when it tells you, oh, I need to be fuller. Oh, I think I'm running on energy. I think I need more carbs. I think I need a refeed. I'm listening to my body. Da 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 da. No, it's your mind's going to tell you that because that's what it is. That's what you're telling it. It needs food. Of course, you want to eat. That's what we all want to do. It's not going to get you that what you want. So
and then,
yeah.
I hear about a lot of this. Oh, he's my friend, and this and that, and it's like you have to differentiate. You can't be friend and coach, at the same time.
There's a fine line.
Yeah,
there's a fine line.
There's a friendship there, but it's a different kind. Yeah. He's more like counselor and coach. How are you feeling today? Are you sleeping well? Are you getting all your meals? Is there anything bad going on in your life? More of a consoling counselor type of coach rather than, hey, he's my buddy, we go hang out. You got to differentiate between the two.
It's hard to not start to the closer you become to somebody, the more you feel for that person. You feel kind of like bad for them because they're suffering and stuff. And, it's like you don't want to see that person suffer. So, okay, well, we're going to bump your carbs a little bit here. We're going to do this a little bit here. So you've got to be able to differentiate between those two because you still have to kind of get the most out of that athlete. You have to be able to. And like I said, you're seeing it more and more now. Like before, like the olden era just worked and worked and worked. And even the guys back then that we didn't think was working that hard still would suffer. Like those guys would suffer and suffer. They might cheat on their diet, but then they would suffer themselves and half kill themselves for the next 3 weeks, like starving themselves and stuff. Like they would just suffer. Now you don't have that type of like mental toughness. And I'm telling you, that's the deciding factor right now.
And that's the deciding factor.
There's some great athletes out there right now that are literally on the verge of doing something amazing. And it's their mind that's holding them back. That's it.
Wow. Well, you guys, you hear that? That comes from the guru, from Chad and from Kim. You guys said it right on. You said it well. Thank you for joining us. It's been a great conversation. Thanks for everything that you've done for the sport, guys, because to me, I do feel that you really just an example of working with athletes, being coaches, and what you did to revolutionize the sport. You made a change.
Thank you.
Amazing. It's always good to you. I love you, Lenda and Wendy. Congratulations.
I love you too.
And
thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I just want to, if I could say one more thing, we want to thank First Form, first and foremost, for picking up our Family Mayhem channel. On YouTube. They were excited that we were so different and diverse as a family, but all in the same realm. And so we're with them now, have been with them mentally and as friends for years, since day one, since before they put their name on the map. But now we're with them under contract. And so we just want to thank them for the opportunity. And we want to thank you guys for the opportunity to be on tonight too.
Yeah. I love what you're doing on the channel. It's really Family Mayhem.
Yes.
Right?
Oh yeah. Yes. Family Mayhem. Awesome, you guys. Well, thank you so much. And we will be in touch.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.